Hey everyone, Ampro Engineering here, and look what came today. There's good stuff in here. So I've got the thing open already, because I opened it upside down. Let's see what we have. Ooh, this is cool. Grasshopper battery door. Isn't that cool? You have to have the Hornet transmission set up, with the sliding rear axle, though, in order for this door to work. But look how good the Grasshopper came out. Very nice. That came. And, ooh, these are cool too. These are adjustable shock collars for the Hornet. I think they'll work for the Fast Attack vehicle also. This way, instead of putting those little spacers in, you can actually, adjust the Hornet rear shocks. Ooh, this is a piece for hardcore net. This will be, oh, this is going to be good. What else we have? Ooh. This, if anybody has a Super Champ, I made this because I wanted it a little more wild. I wanted these little side pieces here on the rear wing. I've got the little louvers on top. Check it out. So this is going to go on hardcore net as well. What else do we have here? Ooh. ORV rear. I'm sorry, this is the front bumper mount. These always break if you look at them incorrectly. This will be installed soon. What else have we got? This is the battery door retainer with the non-transmission retaining variant. Mud blaster body mounts, very nice. And that notorious piece that breaks constantly on the big wheel ORVs. You got that piece in here too. Look at that. Flexible. Very nice. But that's not... this. This is why I brought you all here today. Do you know what this is? Front suspension for the Grasshopper 2, Super Hornet, and Rising Fighter. We have both left and right A-arms. These are different for the left and the right because the geometry on the shock mount's much lower, so you have to actually different geometry for that vehicle. We have, now this is interesting here. This is an upper clamshell control arm retainer. Those are many words I just used. This is the lower portion that it would attach to here as well. So I'll show you how this works. And these are my uprights. If any of you have any of my Hornet suspension components or the CW01 suspension components, these are all the same. I try and keep as much the same or similar as I possibly can. These are exactly the same. And as I mentioned before, the sprue is just there to hold it all together so that it can be, it won't be lost when you print it because it's, there's no way it's all attached. And when it gets dyed, you won't have any white spots where the dye didn't actually touch the nylon. Let's snag a Grasshopper 2 and install these bad boys. Here's Project Grasshopper 2. I think most of you do recognize this car. One of the reasons why I made these is, unlike the Hornet, this car at idle, just at rest, always seems to have a little bit of negative camber, and the minute you apply any load to the front of the car, it just seems to want to droop. In fact, reversing with this car, this thing just drops to the ground and it does this just ridiculous toe in, negative camber increase, and just kind of stays that way. And yes, I agree, you can put preload in here, but if you're just driving this around lightly, the preload really increases the bounce, and I don't know, it leaves a lot to be desired. So what I want to do now is just go through the installation process. And this is as you can tell, haven't tried these yet. I've only had the prototype one. Let's install these and see if they work properly. Step one, we have to remove them from the sprue. So let's break the sprue. And I don't think that's gonna, man. There we go. All right, there's our sprue bits. A little bit in there too. Okay, so here are all of our components. I'm going to pull the body off this. And what I'm going to do off camera, just to save everybody's time, is I'm going to pull off the front A-arms and leave all the hardware, show you what we're going to need, and also show the upper link that we're going to install. So let me just prep this thing and we'll be right back. So the front end is disassembled, and let's prep the new components here. As I always mention, I create these models so that the holes are always undersized. And the reason for that is when you receive these, it's very important that you drill these out to give them a proper, smooth inner mating surface. I'm going to use a 3.2mm drill bit. I don't mind a little bit of extra play in there. However, if you do want it to be nice and snug on the axle, you also have the option of using a 3mm drill bit. We'll begin by drilling out the mount for the upright. There we go. And then at the bottom here, this is going to be the mount for the shock. Those are all set. Same thing over here. We want to make sure that we clear out the pivot here for the upright. As well as the pivot point for the knuckle. Alright, those are all done. As for these components here, let's see here, it's going to go just like that. Now, I specifically made these holes oversized, so I don't think he's going to fit. I think they're actually going to fit these machine screws. Yeah, these pretty much slip right in. The reason is I wanted to make sure that you didn't think these were supposed to be threaded. We want to pass a machine screw through these and then put a nut on the back side. Alright, so this is going to be our orientation here. Our left arm and our right arm. I should actually say it the other way around because we're looking at it from the front. But nevertheless, let's install this one first. Then it goes in, very nicely. So it pops right into place. Same with this side over here. What you're going to see with this modification as well is that, as usual, I have made 0 modifications to the car that are irreversible. That means no cuts, no holes, nothing. And that means on the chassis as well as the body, there's 0 modifications here. Install that. In case you're wondering what the decal is over here on the car, it came that way, and I think it looks pretty cool, so I left it. It's part of the car's history. LA Gear, it's old school for sure. Right, there are the arms. Let's rotate you and install an upright. As usual, here it does say right R or L, as in the other one over here. This is going to be the right side of the car, and I always determine right side of the car looking at the rear and looking forward. So this is the right side. The only difference, by the way, is that the hole for the upper ball end is on the front on both of these, and it does not have a through hole on the back. It's really the only difference. Let's put our right one in, and for that, if you are not familiar with some of my installs, I have a million of these. These are Tamiya screw pins. They only come in kits, unfortunately. Here they are. So they can be, you can't like say, okay, I want a screw pin of a certain length because they all come in a big bag. As you can see, I try to buy as large a screw pin as possible because it's a heck of a lot easier to take this and chop it down than it is to buy shorter ones and then say, oops, it's too short. So definitely buy some long ones and then just get the Dremel out and cut them down and you'll be good to go. Grab a couple of these here. And let's see here, that's the right side right there. We're going to push that straight in. Okay. With nylon, you don't want to go and torque the heck out of it. Reason for that, nylon, the minute the screw sits itself, it's done. It's not going to back out, and you'll be all set. Let's put the, let's see here, let's put the shock back in here. Now, although these are, they appear to be different from stock, they are straight out of the Super Hornet. So if you have a standard Grasshopper 2, oops, wrong one. If you have a standard Grasshopper 2, those shocks are also going to fit, whether they're the UG, not UG, I'm sorry, Super G, or the friction units. I am putting a screw pin over here, but you can just as well use the stock threaded one. The only thing is if you do use this, the outer diameter of this is under 3 millimeters. So then you probably only want to drill out the front part of this and leave the back a little undersized so that this actually has room to bite into it. That's also acceptable. There is our upright, and I will use the stock screw pin that I pulled out of the car in the first place for our upright. The width of the suspension should be almost identical. So I'm just going to go ahead and reattach that. Just about like that. I'm going to finish up the other side over here, and then we're going to talk about the inside member here. I did want to point out that this upper arm over here is my new version, which has different mounting locations for the ball stud. And the reason for this is certain cars I've at least discovered now, because I'm not able to modify certain parts of geometry to make things fit, like on this car here, additional mounting options will allow you to change where the ball stud can go and therefore improve geometry. So on this car is where I've actually released these new types of uprights, but that'll be the ones available from now on. So the old version will no longer be available. On this car, it is very important that you do select not the first, but the second mounting location. That will improve the geometry when you compress the suspension on this car. This next bit here I'm very proud of. As you can tell, in order to have a double wishbone suspension, you need to have the lower wishbone and some kind of a connecting rod on top. However, as you can see here, there's nowhere to attach it. On the Hornets, we did have the 2 holes for the Grasshopper's body mounts that were unused. And in the case of this guy here, I did make a version that actually protrudes the ball end on the outside of the body, so you don't have to make a notch in the body if you've got kind of a nice shelfer, if you've got just a light runner. However, you did have the option, let's steal Superfly over here, to simply use the mounting point for the Grasshopper body. Now, in the case of this car, I've actually offset them so that the geometry is a little bit better. But you can see what I had to work with on the standard Hornet and on the Grasshopper and Grasshopper 2 and Super Hornet, as well as the Rising Fighter. I did not have that option, unfortunately. So this was my concoction. What we have here is a lower piece and an upper piece. The lower piece will go underneath the car, like so, and it will attach to the front body mount. I put the cross member on the bottom of the car so that I could just put the suspension on. Honestly, as I mentioned before, this is my first time trying it, so I wanted to make sure that it all fit. So let's flip the car back over, remove these. Now, there's a couple of options that we have here. Option one, and this is what I'm going to do, is I'm simply going to unscrew the body mount. I'm holding it here so it doesn't fall out. So, body mount has been unscrewed. This is I think an 8mm. Can you, thank you, Bocus there. An 8mm self-tapping screw. You want to make sure that you use a longer one, so I'm going to grab a 12mm self-tapping screw. There we go. Because this piece here does increase the thickness, basically the distance traveled by the screw. I'm going to push this straight through here. Replace the Grasshopper 2 body mount. Like so. And thread that right in. So what I've done is I've allowed you to have an upper mounting point but not modify the car. You can see here that there are 2 additional holes. In the event that you don't feel this is sufficient, maybe you've got a bit of a heavier runner, or your chassis is not really in that great shape anyway, then you're more than welcome to simply use these 2 holes, drill straight through the chassis, and just screw right in, okay? Let me replace all these bits over here. So our mount is installed. You can see here that it has, it's quite tight up against the chassis. I mean, there's really no gap in here. And the reason for that is I simply couldn't have that. Any gap here would allow this arm to flex, and we can't have that. Now, there is still some movement here. The reason for that is we have our upper piece here that will actually clamp everything together. This is not designed to go on easily. It should require a little bit of forcing to get it on there because, again, I need this to clamp down on here to make sure that everything is tight. You're not going to force that hard at all. It's just going to, you're going to see a little bit of deflection. I don't know how much you can see it there. About 0.5 millimeter, and that is specifically designed in. I'm going to take the ball end over here. I think we're doing pretty well. Come on. There it is. All right, so that is in. I'm going to go ahead and take a 3mm nut now. Now, I have discovered that this is not the easiest thing to install. I suppose the shock could come off, but with a set of needle nose pliers, and does everybody out there have this? You need to get it. If you don't have this, stop watching the video and go to Tamiya.com and order this because it's awesome. This actually has a tool in it that will allow me to snug up that nut. So let me just push this here, go behind onto the shaft there. All right, nice and snug. Both sides are tightened up here, and that deflection that you saw initially is gone. It's going to basically mate up against the shock tower over here as tightly as it can, because remember, we are working with cars that have hard bodies. And moment of truth, and here you go. Notice it fits right through that tiny little gap right there and allows the body perfect clearance. The same is going to be true of the Super Hornet as well as the Rising Fighter, which actually have more clearance there than the Grasshopper 2. So the goal was to give us that upper pivot point but not compromise the body, because I do not chop up hard bodies to make a mount. That's just not going to be cool for me. We have one final step, and that is to determine the length of the tie rod for the upper control arm. Here's how this is going to work. People ask me all the time, how long are the tie rods supposed to be on these cars? And my answer is always, I have no idea. And the reason I don't know is the tie rod length depends on the length of the ball cup. If you get a, come on, there you go, camera. If you get a very long ball cup, then the length of the tie rod will actually become less, because the tie rod will get shorter since the threaded body of the ball cup gets longer. A A shorter ball cup would then increase the length of this. So don't worry how long this is, because you should not be out there buying adjustable turnbuckles. I try and design these specifically for someone that wants to play. I'm not hardcore in terms of racing, and if you are, you're not going to be modding a Grasshopper 2. The plan here, and the way that it should be done, is just to take a ruler or a scale. In this case here, I've got a caliper, and I'm going to just kind of eyeball the upright, make it as vertical as I possibly can, and then measure from the center of the ball joint, or the ball stud, to the center of the ball stud. So I'll just go from there to there, and it's about 36, a little over 36, okay? So with one that is 36, I'm going to set it down here, put a ball cup and a ball cup, again center to center, and then take your threaded rod, and we can see here that it is not very long at all. We're probably looking at a, I don't know, 15 millimeter threaded rod here. So I'm going to get my trusty Sharpie here and just mark you right there. I'll get the Dremel out, give it a snip, put them together, and then let's see how the suspension works. Tie rods have been cut to length. I'm going to put the wheels back on the car, and the reason for this is I just want to make sure that I've got the camber correct. Now normally you're probably going to want to put a little bit of negative camber in here. I'm going to try and do that, but I'm not going to put very much. And the reason is I hated the negative camber on this car, so I don't really want to put that much more on it. And that's not possible. That's already right. Okay, that looks like I got pretty lucky there. Let's install this one first. I'm going to put the, can you see this? Putting the pliers on like so, and basically what's happening is this end of the plier is touching the nut on the other side. So we'll just give it a squeeze. That's in. Oops, wheels falling off already. And that should be good. Same thing over here. Give that a squeeze. Okay. Let's take a look at this guy here. Okay, both sides are on. I am doing this for the first time with all of you on the camera right now. I have no idea how well this thing is going to work when I compress the suspension. I am not even kidding. This is the first time I'm actually going to see the production version here. So far I'm quite happy. I mean, it's sitting just about how it was before. I mean, that was the original design intent. You can see, how well can you see? The shock tucks in very nicely right there. Very nicely right there. Same with the back. It's not coming into contact with anything. It does get close, but again, that is by design because we're not, we just don't have that much room to work with. I want to do this in style here, so I'm not going to try this out without a body. Where did Grasshopper 2 go? It's lounging over here. All right, there's our body. So let's give her the old drop test over here. And it's looking not bad, actually. I thought it was going to be... I mean, there is some camber gain here, but that's why we have the old Super Hornet there. Let's put them side by side, like so. That's just... I mean, it's kind of cute, though, I have to admit. I mean, look, hilarious, right? Hey, they were fun when I was younger, but this, I think, a little more refined here. And more importantly, it does retain, it's not bad. I was actually expecting the geometry was going to be way more off, but I think that's pretty darn good. Well, there we have it. I do want to take the car out for a spin, and if you're thinking I'm taking this body out and jumping this car, oh, no. No, that's not going to happen. In fact, I don't think I've ever jumped this car in the time I've owned it. It's in pretty good shape. Look at this. It's fine. It's got a little bit of use from a previous owner. But, ooh, look at that. That is nice. You see, I'm all about modifying things, but giving them the illusion that they've never been modified. If you are interested in getting a finish similar to this, what you want to do is actually paint this in a low gloss black, and that is going to allow the car to have significantly more sheen to match the existing components. So these parts will really kind of pop. I don't really mind the matte black. To me, that's fine. But again, you can see that my prerogative here was to make sure that the original geometry and the style was carried over in this upgraded part. I didn't cut these screw pins off yet, simply because it's quite late right now and I don't want to be chopping stuff with my wife asleep. So we're not going to do that just now. But I think I did overall a pretty good job. I did make these posts significantly larger than the originals. You know, the original is going to give you the ability to, you know, really flex. These nylon ones do have give, but they are significantly stiffer than the originals. They're also quite a bit longer than most of the ones that I have been creating for the Hornet or for the CW01. So although I'm confident these are going to be very sturdy, if you are one of those people that launches this thing off of your roof, I would stick with these. Okay. These are going to be quite durable, though. In fact, the video that I'll make here outside shortly. Let's pull this body off. And this is going to be the shell that we're going to be running here. As you can tell, it is a Grasshopper 2 body. Ooh, you can see it still. Let's push this little thing out here. Funny story about this body. This is what I bought brand spanking new when the Grasshopper 2 was still available, because at that time in the early 90s, there we go. At that time in the early 90s, there was nothing at all available for the Hornet. And therefore, I went ahead, found this, and discovered that if you drill this hole for the front body mount slightly further back, that it fits the stock Hornet chassis. Hence, the Super Hornet decals that I put on as a youngster here. Let's give her a little wipe here. So this is going to be the body that we'll be using for the jump. I'm going to change the wheels and tires again because I know these don't grow on trees. We'll just put probably some stock ones on and take her out and see how it goes.
I never tried to paint a picture of you. The lines I draw would be anything but true. It's true. Don't want another frame to hang on my wall, another trophy to remind me of it all. That's all. Not sitting here trying to convince myself Take these blinders off my eyes. I just wanna see the sky. Leave behind your disguise. It'll be alright. Help me see the world the way it was, and say it didn't happen just because. Frequencies report distances unknown, messages received in cryptic tones. Skyscrapers unite to block my line of sight, tearing down walls to see the light. We don't always disagree, but we don't see eye to eye. Put aside these games and forget wrong and
Even though this car is a pretty light runner for me, 98% of what I do is drive it on the block, but for some reason just the camber gain hopping off a curb or even reversing has always annoyed me. As you can tell by the jumps it took them very well, it landed very well, the suspension was happy as can be. I can't wait to install this on my Super Hornet as well as my Rising Fighter. I really hope everybody enjoyed this. This has been an interesting project because I've had a lot of people ask me about this front suspension, and then I don't even know why, but I decided one day, you know what, I'm gonna make it. And about half an hour later it was designed, sent it out to Shapeways, and I've been waiting for it ever since. So that tends to be how I do something. I get some idea in my head and I'll just whip it up and well, here we are. Please subscribe. I've got way more insanity coming down the pipeline. Remember, I have that double wishbone rear suspension for the Blackfoot coming out super soon. So when that gets in, we're going to upgrade our Blackfoot. You can find me on Instagram as well as Facebook at Ampro Engineering. And don't forget to check out the band Blue Pinto. They allow me to use all of their songs for my videos. Fantastic group, awesome music. Their Facebook page can be found at the end of the video. You can also find all of these suspension components on Shapeways. There will be a link in the description. Remember that they are available in a number of different colors. So if you did want to customize your car, that is a great way to do that. Thank you again, and we will see you next time.